Hello there, everyone. How are you doing today? I hope you are all well. Today we will be reading a story by Cube3Root on Reddit. It is called It's 3 a.m. and there's a clown at my door. Check out the original story at the description below, and like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. Leave a comment if it truly terrified you. Now, without further ado, let's get started, shall we?
Julius Productions. Sit down, get comfy, and await your horror.
I was walking home from work at Tim Hortons, since it was relatively close and I hated driving at night. The way back was tedious on foot, but I made sure to find shortcuts to avoid wasting time. The main road to my neighborhood was quite busy, but the fact there was no sidewalk on the well-maintained road was a joke. This meant that walking along the road was quite risky at night. Considering the large amount of traffic feeding in, a few weeks ago, I found a gravel path making its way through the foliage beside the road to a kids' park near the entrance of my neighborhood. The park was never occupied at this time of day, or any for that matter, due to its old, unkept appearance. Today that changed. As I passed through the trail to the kids' park, I noticed the rusty swing in use. Although it was hard to tell who was using it, I approached closer and realized that the person on the swing was barely swinging at all. It was moving an inch forward and an inch backwards. The person was basically keeping still. I couldn't make out their facial features, but it soon became clear to me that this was no child. It was a fully grown man. He seemed to be wearing baggy clothing and a mask. I walked up to about 20 meters from the park when I saw it. The man was wearing a clown suit. "Hello?" I confusedly asked. There was no response. I walked up to the swing set and got a closer look. No wonder there was no response. It was a mannequin in a clown suit in a sitting position on the swings. It was beyond me how it got there or who placed it there, but I continued home nonetheless. My house was relatively modern, but I had got it for a cheap price because the neighborhood was laughable. The roads hadn't been paved in a decade. No lawns were maintained, and many other homes on the block were in dire need of renovation like my renovated house. I located my home and entered using my key. Today was a busy shift, as it was a Monday, and several people wanted to start their week with a coffee and bagel. Extremely tired, I headed straight for my bed and tucked myself into my comfortable sheets. I was home alone and had been since I moved in, which is probably why I dozed off. Dreamt about parties, magicians, dances, presents, and cake that night. Those dreams were cut short, however. I awoke to an aggressive series of knocks at my front door. Immediately I checked my bedside clock, and the numbers were 3:18. I glared back at me in bright red. My mind raced to consider the several possibilities. There were none. Who was at my front door at 3 a.m. in the morning? Knock, knock, knock! I sat up straight. Was this a prank? This person isn't going to stop bothering me, are they? Annoyed, I lazily got out of bed and put on a shirt. I slipped on a pair of slides and made my way downstairs. Suddenly, as I was walking down the staircase, I felt an air of unease about the situation. This could potentially be dangerous, so before heading to the door, I went to the living room and equipped myself with a trusty pistol hidden in a secret compartment within my coffee table. It was already loaded, and I proceeded to open the door. Slightly nervous, I unlocked the door and swung it open. Facing me was the clown mannequin. I didn't even move for a solid 5 seconds in pure shock, before I started angrily craning my neck around my front yard to see who played this prank on me at this hour. I scanned the surrounding area in more depth, but to no avail. The mannequin in front of me was still as a rock and staring right at me. I was frustrated that I had let some prankster get the better of me and run off, so I slammed the door in the clown's face and decided to deal with it when I got up for work. Sleeping soundly, I drifted off into a more obscure, faded dreams this time. I was somewhere, with someone, enjoying a laugh. Perhaps I had just seen something hilarious. It occurred to me that I wasn't the only one laughing, and this continued for an unusually long amount of time. The laughing became intense, and felt like this dream wasn't funny anymore. Soon, the sound was horrible. It was wheezing, insane laughter that was definitely not coming out of me. I woke up in a cold sweat, squirming around the uncomfortable pool around me in my bed. But the laughing continued. Perplexed, I rubbed my eyes and pinched myself. This was all but reality. I sat up and listened carefully to the sound. It was coming from outside. My window was half open, and I immediately regretted the decision to leave it that way before I slept. Someone or something was out there. It was that guy, wasn't it? I quickly picked up the pistol that I had brought upstairs and cocked it back in a swift motion. I aimed it outside and downwards on the ground, but what I saw will continue to plague my nightmares. It was the same clown mannequin, standing perfectly still. The mask was made to grin, and its head had been tilted to face directly up at my window. The laughter had ceased, but I was filled with rage. In sheer fury, I screamed at the top of my lungs, "Who's there?" That was loud, really loud. I waited a few seconds to see if any neighboring lights turned on, if I had disturbed somebody in their slumber. Nothing. Returning to my previous annoyed state, I glanced around the area, trying to spot whoever was playing this sick joke on me. Everything seemed normal. Nothing was out of place, and nowhere someone could have hidden down there, so I would have closed the window, this time fully, and gone back to bed had it not been for the gut-wrenching sound of the same exact laughter. I turned around to face out the window, and of course the clown had departed. What a night, I thought, as I let out a sigh of despair. Not taking any chances, I went downstairs to make sure all the doors were locked and that all the windows in my house were locked as well. I couldn't sleep tonight, as I was either going insane or I had just been the victim of the creepiest prank ever. I waited an hour for someone else to happen, but nothing did. I noticed I was becoming very tired, as I had worked my full shift, and my sleep was interrupted twice by a mannequin in a clown suit. I was angry. I told myself if I saw the person behind this, I would either call the cops immediately or deal with them myself with my pistol. I dug my head in my pillow and screamed until I calmed down, relaxed, and eventually passed out. The morning came, and for that I was grateful. Sunlight poured into the room and illuminated every corner of it. Something was off, though. The sunlight was dark crimson. This was my room, but it didn't seem like it. Yup, another dream. I was looking through my own eyes, but rather the eyes of something else in my room. In fact, I was staring directly at myself. I was sound asleep in my dream. I stood there, unmoving, concentrating on the lump of the bed that I was. Time seemed to stand still. Perhaps time didn't progress right now. whatever or whenever right now was. The crimson in the room was perpetual, and so was everything else, until I started to notice something. Something new. Laughter. I woke up properly this time, and noticed that I was breathing heavily. I've done this before, I thought. My heart was racing, though, and I could not wrap my mind around the abstractly nonsensical dream I just experienced. I heard that sick laughter before waking up, and evidently was delving further into the depths of insanity now. All that changed when I sat up on my bed. The thing was right there. It was standing directly in front of my bed. This was no dream, and I was not insane. I screamed, probably louder than I ever had, jumped out of my bed, and tackled the mannequin. It fell easily, as should most pieces of plastic. I was in a craze and lunged for my pistol on my nightstand. I shot at the thing, then shot again. I shot a few more times for good measure, and then threw the gun after it was out. My breathing was even heavier, and I stared blankly at the mannequin I had just shot several times. What had just happened? The situation was absurd. There was a clown mannequin in my room. I had tackled it, and proceeded to shoot at it. I slightly chuckled in triumph. I had defeated the mannequin. I doubled over and broke into hysterical laughter.
I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, it helps the channel a lot. See you next time.